I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about 3 of the best virtual reality headsets on sale today in June 2020. We're going to pitch 2 of the Oculus products up against the Vive Pro from HTC. Welcome to MACDADDY Tech, the home of in-depth analysis and research that saves you time and money on the right tech for you. I'm MACDADDY, and over the last few weeks I've spent countless hours researching and testing the world of virtual reality headsets to bring this guide to you. I'm also the owner of a tech company in real life, so this is a bit of a hobby for me, and if you like the content and the quality of what I put together, you really need to comment down there, please, like and subscribe, and encourage me to put some more videos out. So I really need to see if you guys enjoy this or not. We're going to do a twin test today, a kind of a dual, and we're going to put together the brothers of the Oculus headsets, the Rift S and the Quest. We're going to help you understand what the real key differences are between them and why you would buy them. And then we're going to focus on the Rift S again, but this time against the HTC Vive Pro in a wired PC gaming head-to-head comparison. If you're the kind of person that likes to skip straight to the summaries and the end results, then all the timings are in the video below. But believe me, you're going to miss a lot of detail that I've put together here that I think you're going to find interesting. It's time for the brothers to duel it out. So this is the Oculus Quest, and let me just say this. This is Oculus' favorite child, and by quite some margin. But it's not hard to see why. It's such a nice headset. From the first moment you unbox it, a pleasure. Same with the Rift S. Vive, take note. I just think it's just such a nice experience. You know, you've just got a headset, 2 of these fantastic Oculus controllers. 5 minutes later, after a really nice setup, which is clearly aimed a little bit more at a younger audience than the Rift S, but it's straight into the action, gun games, fighting. It's just fun. You know, it's a really nice headset, and it's up and running straight away. You do notice straight away the OLED screen in the Oculus, both good and bad. So back-to-back setups of the Oculus software between a Rift S and a Quest shows me that the OLED gives me these beautiful blacks. I love the colors. I mean, it's almost like filmic. It's really warm and earthy. I can't explain it, but I just much prefer the technology in an OLED screen where you got the depth, even if it does come at the sacrifice of some visual quality. There's no doubt about it. If you do the same setup between these 2 devices, you will see detail on the Rift S that just simply is not present here on the Quest. It just fades into a black or something else. The finer detail goes a bit. You've also got a bit more screen door effect. This is the kind of grid. A lot of people talk about this when you get up real close, you see a sort of grid pattern. Yes, it's more present on the Quest. No, you don't really notice it when you're playing, so, you know, I don't think it matters too much. And I'm really amazed that I'm saying this about myself, because I looked into the spec so much before I started buying VR headsets. And, you know, for me, I was just convinced that I wanted the colors of the OLED, but the screen door would sort of, you know, kill me. And the 72 Hertz screen refresh rate of the Quest versus the 80 in the Rift S and the 90 in the Vive Pro would be really noticeable. But it's not really. You know, you should think of Hertz just like FPS. So, you know, if you're a gamer, you know that 72 FPS, and it is a direct comparison. 72 is pretty good. It's pretty smooth. 80 is really smooth, and 90 is beautiful. You know, a PlayStation 4, for example, will give you, you know, as low as 30 FPS on a full HD game, and certainly no more than 60 FPS. It can't. It's limited with your TV. So I find this absolutely fine. I really think it's good. Both of the Oculus products use inside-out tracking. That's cameras around the outside to track where the controllers are in your hands. I think there's a bit of snobbery in tracking, to be honest with you, because if the first headset you ever picked up was a Quest, your first thought is not going to be, oh my God, I wish I had some base stations on my wall so I could have millimeter pinpoint surveying style accuracy. They just work and they're fine. And, you know, yes, you get a bit more fidelity on the Rift S, which is really good tracking, and a little bit more yet again on the Vive Pro, but you're not going to notice anything wrong with these, not at all. And talking of controllers, I love the Oculus controllers. They're just so nice. I know everyone's talking about the Valve indexes now, but do not disregard how good these are. If you are a PS4 gamer, then you will think of this. It's just like a PS4 control, split down the middle. It feels just as solid in your hands, really ergonomic. Analog buttons, they're all capacitive. It's just lovely. For someone maybe with as bigger hands as me, they can get a little bit lost in there sometimes, but you know, I think these are really fantastic, fantastic controllers. Will stand the test of time, no doubt about that whatsoever. A couple of really nice hardware features that you get on the Quest, and then you do not get these on the Rift S, and these are quite big features actually. First of all is the manual volume adjustment here. It's such a small thing, but honestly, this makes a huge difference. Like, instead of having to go into software menus, test the volume, go back out, oh no, that's too loud, too quiet, go back in. I've just got a manual adjustment here. It shows me a slider in my screen, and you know, it's just the little details like this that make it nice. Manual IPD adjustment, however, is not a nice to have, it's a need to have, and I cannot for the life of me understand why they didn't put it on the Rift S. I'm going to talk more about that in a bit, but let's just say this works really nicely. I've got quite a narrow IPD at 60mm, which is basically pretty much the lowest setting on here. Works great, I get no eye fatigue, it's a really nice thing. What's not so nice is the audio quality. I mean, this has got the sound capacity of a Casio digital watch. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you, it's just awful. And anyone that tells you any different, they just haven't heard better, because this is horrific. It's good enough to know that you've clicked a menu button, and if you have to use it to play a game, then I guess, yes, you're going to hear the sounds. But, you know, I'm not even going to use the word fidelity and Quest together. Well, I just did, but I shouldn't be. So luckily, again, very practical headset. They've got the 3.5mm stereo jacks in there for your microphone, your headphones. And what's actually quite nice with this particular headset is this thin strap. There are a number of headsets where it's a bit of a challenge to use either, especially headphones or earbuds in some cases. With this strap, it's possible to use both, whatever your poison is. And I'm talking of the strap. I really like this strap. It gets some complaints, and people say this is a bit uncomfortable after a while. I think it's a really nice strap, and it's really comfortable. And I do wonder whether some people are perhaps using it wrong. I just wonder whether the back of the strap for some people is sitting too high on their head, similar to perhaps the Halo, which can be really uncomfortable, like a kind of vice on your head if you're not using it correctly. My advice to everyone getting this, and if you've already got one, is to make sure that this top strap is really long. Like, it comes really, really folded in and short, so you have a sort of a tendency just to take it off a little bit, and this ends up with this sitting too high. This should be nice and big and rounded like the top of your head. The back of that strap should cup underneath the back of your head there. And what that does is it takes the weight off the front of the headset, takes it off your nose, it makes it really comfortable. I think any of these headsets, after about an hour or so, you know, you're going to notice a little bit of fatigue and a bit of tiredness. So I think that's normal, but overall, I think it's a really comfy headset. It's really, really nice. What I do need to talk about is Quest Link. I mean, Quest Link is a game changer. So Quest Link is when Oculus decided to use the charging port of the Oculus Quest to enable you to connect, if you have a gaming PC, to access your Steam VR library. Not only the Steam VR library, but also the Oculus back catalogue. So the very successful Rift CV1 that came out before the Quest, huge amount of games. You can now play them on your Quest. You've got a 2-for-1 headset here. There's the one that you can stick on and play Beat Saber. Oh my God, Beat Saber wireless. Once you've done it, you are not going to go back, trust me. But now you can access all these other games. And if you want things like AAA titles like Half-Life Alyx, you're going to need to, at some point, consider hooking it up to a computer. And suddenly this just makes the Quest such a bargain. Now, if you're a little bit more technically inclined like myself, it still took me a while, I'll be honest with you, but I sort of spent a couple of hours getting all my software up and running to get the wireless version of Quest Link running. Now, this is not officially supported at the moment. You need a few additional bits of software. There's loads of videos on how to do that, so I'm not going to go into it here, but all I can say is on my computer, I've got a 5 gigahertz USB network dongle, and I've got a router right here in my play space. So all I can say to you is my latency was super low, and it was just brilliant. There was only a couple of times on Half-Life Alyx where there was particularly complex things going on the screen that it slightly stuttered. But the ability to play that game wireless, I can't tell you how much it changes the experience. I mean, anyone that's used VR headsets for a little while has got used to skipping over the cable and, you know, kind of doing their thing, but it still takes away some of the immersion. And this is just what the Quest does so well. It's immersion. It's such a great headset. So the slightly less loved brother of the Oculus twins is the Rift S. Now, this was actually the first of the two headsets that I bought, and I really was impressed with the specification on paper. It's an 80 FPS or hertz screen refresh. The resolution is not quite as good as the Quest, but believe me, the first time you put it on, you see that difference in LCD resolution. Despite the Quest on paper having a better resolution, this here is so much sharper, so much more detail, and less screen door effects. So I'm going to tell you that straight off the bat. The screen technically is nicer. However, if you've ever seen a film or a photo where everything's just a bit washed out and a little bit clear, and then you add a filter to it and you pump the saturation up a little bit and it just makes it all rich and lovely, that's kind of what this is lacking versus the Quest. The screen to me always felt slightly washed out when I was playing Half-Life Alyx or The Exorcist or something that's dark and atmospheric. The blacks were never black. I mean, you get used to it, of course you do. And some people will say that extra resolution and clarity and you know, screen detail is worth it, but for me it's not. It's not. I want black to be black. I want, when a head crab comes jumping at me, I want to be scared and not have seen it kind of scuttling from half a mile away. So you know, I did like the screen, and I was really more impressed with this than the Quest when I first put that on, but I ended up liking the Quest more because of that quality. Now, similar unboxing experience, the controllers are the same. I'm not going to go over that again. The setup on the PC was a doddle for one of my computers. I bought two Rift S's and I've got two computers, and I've got to say one was just perfect, one was just hell. And this is what PC gaming can kind of bring to you sometimes. Is my second setup took me 2 days, countless calls to Oculus support, which, you know, God love them, they tried their best, but they couldn't resolve it either. In the end, I managed to solve it myself with yet another external USB 3 card and a specific type of driver, despite my system meeting all the specifications and not having any issues. And I'm pretty technical, I know what I'm doing, so I can't help but think probably most people, had they been in that situation, would never have stuck around long enough to see it working. So that is unfortunately kind of what you get when you play with PCs. It can just be a bit of a pain sometimes. Other one, to be fair, was a doddle, as I said though. This one also inside out tracking. It's got an extra camera, really nice, good quality microphone. It's got the headset jack. I found this fairly comfortable. This is the Halo design, so it's kind of like putting your head in a vice, which can be a bit wearing if you're anything like me. I just could not get the clarity to be good unless it was quite tight, especially when you're moving around and playing. You know, the sweet spot is such that things around the fringes get out of focus a little bit more quickly than I would have liked. So yeah, I mean, it's again, it kind of choose your poison here, really, a little bit. The sound quality on this is, I think, it's actually rather good for what it is. So it's got speakers that are actually in the headband, sort of slightly positioned over the ears. I mean, this is going to be no contender for the Valve Index with its fabulous spatial speakers that sit off the ear, but these are pretty good. They're playable, but you're still going to want to put your earbuds really in for the atmospheric games like The Exorcist, which can tell you can be quite good when you've got the right sound going on in there. But you know, there's a flaw with this that is so big. It's so big that at no point did my countless hours of research on the internet flag to me that there's going to be a real problem with that. And this is a lack of manual adjustment for IPD. Both, by the way, I've just got to say this, both actually have adjustment for glasses, so both are reasonable in that regards. Not brilliant, but they're both reasonable. No headset's perfect for glasses wearers, unfortunately. The lack of IPD adjustment is a huge problem though. So this stands for interpupillar monetary distance. It's basically the distance between your pupils. And with almost every headset, I don't know if there's any other headsets that are of hundreds of pounds price and above, you can get this focal point adjusted between your lenses. And the IPD, all it's doing is sliding these lenses in and out. Now, if anyone is a glasses wearer or has ever been, you will understand the importance of having a good focal point. And the difference it makes in having them slightly off is eye strain, fatigue, blurriness. It's uncomfortable. Unfortunately, unless you have normal vision, which the sweet spot on this is 61.5 mil to 65.5 mil. If you are outside of that, and I'm going to put a link down below to an app called iMeasure, which tests the distance. So do not buy this device until you've tested it, because I had 2 days of intense headaches and eye pain. The first day, almost unbearable, from playing this headset for 2 hours. I'm a technical guy, and I looked at screen resolution, refresh rate, specific ergonomics, the screen technology type, sound, and other technical details. But the little bruiser in the Quest, it made me add playability, ease, and immersiveness into my tick list of things that I wanted to get into, things that you just can't appreciate until you play with them. You know, it's such a nice little all-round headset, and the fact that you need a gaming rig, £1,000 to £2,000 to just play a Rift S, means that the Quest is already out there in the lead, because it's a standalone £400 product that you can get in and enjoy at exactly the same price as the Rift S. But if you happen to have a gaming PC, or you get one at a later point, it unlocks all of that for you as well. So when they added that link into the Quest, they kind of made the 2 products that essentially came out at the same time, one of them was almost made obsolete by it. So sure, if you're a PC gamer, you want the best fidelity, better sound, and you're not going to use headphones. You know, we're going to use headphones, right? So I don't think the sound's really that important. It just comes down to that screen for you. Slightly washed out, but higher detail, slightly less detail, but richer. Black's great for space games, atmospheric, Half-Life Alyx, all that kind of stuff, and those warm, homely colors. For me, it's a no-brainer. I just could not recommend the Rift S. You know, that's even before you take in that fundamental flaw that for me, with the IPD, made it absolutely unplayable. The Rift S is just simply not a rival for the Quest, but the Quest is a rival for the Rift S. So the winner is the Quest! So the Rift S is lying in the gutter, sucker punched by its brother, the Quest. Okay, it's time for the Vive Pro. This is the heavyweight, the bruiser, the Mike Tyson of the headset world. It's big, it's bad, it's heavy, it's ugly. Not you, Mike, headset. However, this is the pro end of the market, as the name suggests, the prosumer. So this is something that people are going to use in business, and it kind of feels like it is big, it's tough, it's quite heavy compared to the other ones, relatively speaking. But although it doesn't feel too heavy because of the balance, they've achieved quite a nice balance with this headset. So with the Vive Pro kit, you get 2 base stations and 2 controllers alongside with the headset, and that is £1,120 UK pounds. Okay, I managed to get this brand new Vive Pro starter kit from HTC's own website. They are selling that there for £899, £899. So it's a full £220 less than the newer version, and the only difference with the newer version is you get Type 2 controller and accompanying base stations. The Steam ones are the Type 2, whereas with this original one, they're the Type 1s. I cannot see how they are justifying £200 more for version 2s when the only thing you might be interested in is Valve's Index knuckle controllers, but they're also compatible with these. So my advice is, if you're in the market for one of these, get over to Vive's own website and save yourself some money. HTC could learn a thing or two from Oculus about the whole customer experience. I have had more fun unpacking my food shopping than this box that came with the Vive Pro in it. So one enormous box comes to me with the courier. Inside that there's another 6 boxes. When I opened the box, within 5 minutes flat, it looked like I was assembling an IKEA wardrobe in my office here. I spent about 30 minutes looking for the mounts for these base stations, and I could not believe they did not include the adapters that you use to fit them to your wall. And I just cannot understand their logic. Without being able to get these on my wall, I cannot use any of this kit. HTC, what are you doing? Do you have any idea of what a good customer experience should look like? Should I maybe get one of my sons to hold them? I'll just get a son in each corner to stand when I'm gaming. I mean, so my first date with the Vive Pro is not going too great. You know, this is not the profile I signed up for. She's not a looker. She's carrying a bit of extra weight. She's hard to talk to. She's carrying a lot of baggage and wearing a pretty shabby outfit, and I'm pretty sure she just slipped a fart out when we sat down. So we've got the Vive Pro. I'm entering in, and you know, I feel like I'm kind of putting a bike helmet on when I'm taking one of my motorbikes on. This is a pretty serious bit of kit. I stick it on, and wow, when I looked at the spec of VR, this is what I thought it was going to be like. And yet it's the first time I've seen it. The picture is just stunning. The colors, the lack of screen door, the quality, the 90 Hertz refresh rate of the same resolution as the Quest. And yet this is night and day. The screen is twice as good. It's just beautiful. The darks, the blacks, the rich colors, the detail feels like it's there. I just couldn't take this thing off for ages, for hours I was playing. It's just fantastic. Yes, it's a little bit heavier, but the balance, the thick, luxurious padding is fantastic. You've got that manual IPD adjustment, the manual glasses adjustment, and the sound that loads of people are saying aren't good. I don't get what they're talking about. The sound of this thing is fantastic. It's really, really good quality. I mean, HTC obviously put a lot of effort into this sound, and they must be gutted to read the reviews of people saying it's not very good. And I wonder again, just maybe like the headset thing, that perhaps people aren't putting these close to the ears, because these are not like the Valve Index where they sit away from the ear to create spatial sound. These are headphones mounted to this bracket, and they need to really be up and close against your ear. And when they are, the sound's brilliant. It's really crisp. There's good quality of bass available. It's really, really excellent. And it needs to be, because actually another massive kind of own goal from HTC here is how hard it is to fit your own audio. I mean, earbuds, yes, you can just about get away with it if you want to put your flying wings up. Headphones, no, you're going to need to take this off. You know, the Vive does actually come with the ability fairly easily to take these off and change the wiring, but again, you shouldn't have to. And guess what? There's no stereo jack in this. Oh no, I mean, it would be so easy to use a universally audio connection. I mean, why would you do that when instead you could have the world's only headset that's got a USB-C connection to 3.5mm, just another thing that you need to buy. Thanks very much for that, HTC, brilliant. Onto the controllers. I was absolutely convinced that I was going to hate everything about the controllers, to the extent I actually nearly didn't buy the Vive Pro just because of them. You know, they look big and they look old. They look like you should probably have some flowers in there to go and take round your gran. But, you know, but the reality is the trackpad technology that I thought was going to be so hard to control just feels really nice. I mean, this is a really good controller. They might be getting on a bit now, but trust me, these are still well and truly within the race. They feel good in your hand. They feel like probably the best quality controller that I've actually held, and the actions feel positive and strong. And actually that weight and that feeling of something a little bit more sort of sizable in your hand, when you're playing a gun game like Half-Life Alyx or one of the other games, and you're holding this thing with a trigger, it really does feel like you're holding a gun. And suddenly these really, what I thought would be rubbish side buttons, you squeeze them and your clip drops out, actually feels even better than it does on the Oculus controllers. The trigger is analog. These are just digital switches, so your hand, you know, kind of does a super unrealistic action. But this is capacitive. The trackpad, as opposed to the controllers, sticks that you've got in the Oculus products, this is actually really, really nice to use. You do occasionally catch your finger on it and it kind of makes you do something unexpected, but generally speaking, you know, they've had a lot of time to develop this controller, and there's a reason it's pretty good. And I probably should have been a little bit more open-minded before this thing came along, because it is actually a really, really nice controller. And actually, a small little fact for you there with the trackpad, something that I noticed playing Half-Life Alyx is, because it's capacitive, it moves the thumb around much in the same way I imagine the Knuckles does. So it gives you a bit of a preview of what that might look like. It's something that you can't do on the Oculus. So that was kind of interesting too. Yeah, I think this is a bit of a shame as well. They use the same Fresnel lenses that you get in both the Rift S and the Quest, but again, that AMOLED screen, similar to the OLED, tends to lend itself more to a bit of God rays and refraction and sort of, you know, that kind of halo effects, etc. And I think they kind of let the headset down a little bit, actually, these lenses. And a lot of users actually swap the lenses out in this for a Samsung Gear. Actually, that was an Oculus inspired product as well, but they swapped the lenses from that, which I picked one up for about £11. It's winging its way to me at the moment, so I can test it out. But again, why should I have to do that on a £900 headset? So it's such a shame. This is a really strong headset, and they just let it down in a few key areas, because it could be so, so good. So how does the Rift S compare to the Vive Pro? So we've been over the Rift S in quite a lot of detail, so I'm not going to come back to it now. I think the winner of this test is going to very much come down to your budget and your visual comfort. Because if, like me, you have an IPD that's outside of that 61.5 to 65.5 mil range, you know, using a Rift S will quite possibly be just out of the question. For me, I'm never going to go back to that headset again. I couldn't. It was literally painful for me. So if you are in that perfect range, I definitely think it's a good headset. It's a great contender. And price-wise, it's just so strong compared to the Vive Pro in terms of value for money, and setup experience can't be ignored as well. There's no doubting that the AMOLED screen in the Vive Pro lacks some of the clarity that you get in certain situations, even on the Rift S at that half the price, less than half the price. But the richness of the experience in that AMOLED screen is just fantastic. And without the screen door, noticeable screen door effects that you get on the Quest, it really just does feel like the consummate VR experience to me. In terms of controllers, there's really, you know, they're very different in terms of the Oculus controllers and the Vive, and there's no real clear winner for me. I guess if I had to only have one, it probably would be the Oculus, but you know, you do not feel shortchanged with the HTC's controllers. They are really nice quality. They're hefty in your hands. What I really can't stand now is the fact that I've got to set up surveying lasers in my play space. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, this is not a nice experience. So, you know, the lenses, the headphones, the base stations. I mean, we're in the world of enthusiasts and modders here. That's not where this market needs to be. We need to be going more mainstream than this. So we've got to start moving away from this technology and improving the experience. And I think that's what Facebook and are trying to do with the Oculus Quest, and it's the right thing to be doing too. I'll throw another thing in there. If you've got an additional, well, I found it for £250 actually in the UK at the moment, but most of the time £350 will buy you the wireless adapter for the HTC, which is extremely low latency. It runs at 60 gigahertz and it is an extremely good system. This quality wireless, wow. You know, I mean, that will take some beating. If money's no object, this really has got to be your buy if you want the best of the best. If you're willing to do the mods, you're willing to be an enthusiast, you're not going to get much better than this in my mind. However, I'm going to have to give it to the Rift S on the balance of everything in terms of the quality, if you fit within that visual comfort zone, and the screen, etc. It's not my personal preference, but on balance for all of you guys, I think that's probably going to be the one that most people will want to go for. So So how do these three headsets compare when we pit them against one another? The Quest came out winner in terms of the brothers, the Oculus brothers, and although under specific situations about your eye pupil distance and budget being the biggest factor, I kind of had to give it to the Rift S between the two wired headsets. Believe me, you know, the Vive Pro is a vastly superior experience when you put everything together, and it's certainly the headset that I will be left with after this challenge. So the other thing is, of course, is the Rift S can never be wireless, whereas our other two contenders are. So we kind of just need to get that out of the way straight away and say, look, it's not going to compete in the room with these two. So it's well and truly by the gutter, but out of the Quest and the Vive Pro, we have a more interesting challenge to decide the winner. So first of all, let's talk about a money, no object setup. If you are a really dedicated enthusiast and you want the best of the best, you are going to have the Vive Pro. The superior sound quality, the visuals, the weight, the quality, coupled with the wireless adapter, you know, this makes for one hell of an experience. And just imagine that dream ticket for most people would be to get the inside-out tracking of the Rift S with the quality of the Vive Pro screen, maybe a super AMOLED version, high resolution, and combine it with the Knuckles controller. And I think HTC should be doing what Pimax do and offering their Vive Pro or all of their systems actually that use the base stations. I think they should be offering them with either the Vive controllers or the Valve Index Knuckles controllers, because they're fully compatible, these two systems. And it's important notation between the Vive Pro and the Quest actually, because the Quest will never be able to use those controllers if you really fancy them, whereas all of the Vives can. However, with the Quest, if you have a good 5 GHz wireless connection, you're prepared to tinker a bit with the software, and you've got a PC setup, you've got one hell of an attractive package there at just £400 plus a few incidental software costs. Everything about the Quest points to a future that's inclusive for both enthusiasts and casual gamers alike. It's an exciting proposition. It's light, the controllers are nice, you can just pick it up and use it out the box. Everything about the setup's nice, the software, the whole ecosystem with Oculus, it just feels like the future. And if HTC weren't already feeling like they're on the back rope, it's got the weight of Facebook behind it to pump as much money as it wants into that headset. So be under no illusions if you're HTC. It's not a question of whether you can catch up Oculus and what they're doing with the Quest. The battle's already been decided, it's over. Unfortunately, the Cosmos Elite was a kind of a weak contender into battle in the first place. I think it was misspent money, to be honest with you. I don't think they should be trying to compete in that end of the market. There are always going to be people like me who are really, you know, enthusiasts and prepared to pay the top money for a great quality setup. So if you've made it all the way to the end, thanks for watching, and you know, this is a bit of fun for me. So if you like what I've done and you think it's good quality, I tried to do my best here with it. You know, do give me a like and a subscribe and hit the bell, and if I get enough of those, it will encourage me to do some more content. Finally, I want to give a shout out to a couple of YouTubers that I think do some really quality content. So if you're into the real sort of technical stuff, looking through the lenses, Tyriel Wood is a great YouTuber that does some of the stuff that looking through the lens itself. My real go-to guy has got to be virtual reality Oasis, and Mike over there. I just think his content's fantastic, very, very trustworthy. Certainly if I'm looking for answers to something and I see he's done a video about it, he will always be the one that I go and check out and trust. So links to those guys are down below in the description. Do head over and see them. And I just want to say thanks very much. I'm MACDADDY. It's been a pleasure. See you later.